questions, but I suggest that anything that we don't get to, people can follow up kind of separately with Millie herself anyway, but hopefully we should have enough time anyway. So I think I was going to do a quick round the room, but I think with the interest of time, I think Mill just crack on.
All right.
And yeah, over to you.
Cool. Thank you. And thanks everyone for coming today. I've just recorded the session, so I hope that's all right. I'm going to start with a safety moment about eating disorders and the impact they have on physical and mental health. So I chose this topic as it is actually quite personal to me. I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was 17 and since have recovered. And I think it's important to share because eating disorders are actually one of the deadliest mental illnesses, and people don't really talk about their kind of journey and how they can recover from it. So for me, it began during lockdown. I stopped swim training and started to gain weight. And when it came to lockdown, I wanted to set myself a target to lose weight. So it was an aspect I could control in my life. It was a very uncertain time, especially during studying for my A levels. And from there, things kind of spiraled. I started over exercising, under eating, and became obsessed with like weighing myself, counting calories, tracking, exercising, and a lot. And that kind of isn't new for me. I always try and set myself lots of goals, which I'm sure you'll hear about later in this presentation. And physically, this led to me being very underweight, and I actually developed anemia and some heart and brain problems as well, which wasn't great. I don't think people really realize it does also affect you quite badly mentally. So I also dealt with anxiety and depression during that time, and always felt guilty around food. Eventually, I was referred to CAMS for support, and recovery wasn't easy. I was on a meal plan and stuck to it for 6 months. They said my recovery was really quickly, and within the 6 months, I was discharged and back to normal life. But they said otherwise I would have to be hospitalised, and I didn't want to do that because I wanted to do my A level exams and yeah, complete all of that. And I think therapy really helped me understand the severity of the situation. And I've taken some key lessons from this, such as like being able to overcome challenges in different sort of ways and become more resilient as a person and step out of my comfort zone a little bit. So that is the safety moment. So moving on, in terms of the agenda, I'm going to do a little introduction about me. I'll then discuss my journey so far in Atkins Realis, and then talk about my brand and some next steps and how I want to improve and go forward in the program delivery practice. So about me, over the course of the next few slides, I've included some images throughout my life so far, which best reflects my personality outside of work so you can get a better picture of me and what I was like as a child. I've supported this with some pictures and some feedback quotes. And you can probably tell from the pictures I was quite a mischievous child, very free-spirited, generally quite a happy-go-lucky person. I've always been very into sports and adrenaline junkie. I love to do things to put myself out of my comfort zone. So that was me as a kid. Throughout school, I've always been a very good student. I always revised probably too much. I would always ask for extra work and push myself to achieve the best grades possible in both my GCSEs and A levels. And in work, I put a quote up there. I've also been described as excelling in both my client and internal work and always striving to achieve the best I possibly can in whatever I do. And I always remember my parents saying to me, like, why do I put so much pressure on myself? And I couldn't really pinpoint why, but I think it kind of becomes clear towards the end of this presentation. So this leads me on to my drive and ambition to also succeed in sports. Like I said, I started swimming competitively from age 8 up until around 15. I used to get up before school at 3:30 twice a week and then train every evening. So I think this is where my commitment comes from. And I still love to do some crazy challenges. Last year, I summited Mount Kilimanjaro with some colleagues, and a few weeks ago, I ran my first marathon. And I'm also got a triathlon in a few weeks, so I'm always quite busy outside of work. And I'm also a captain of my netball team as well. I've always been motivated to have a goal in mind and work towards achieving it, and also setting the next challenge to work towards. And without this, I sometimes feel quite lost. And the quote on the screen shows how this links with being a good project manager and having the mindset to lead the team to reach project goals. So I also like to be creative. I took up guitar as a child and now love to bake and read. I also like to bring this out in work and try and find solutions to problems. Um, and yeah, and meet those desired outcomes. And just a little bit extra, I'm really close with my family and we all love animals. I have a cat and dog at home, and I actually my first job was at 14. I started in a cattery, and traveling is a passion of mine. I started doing a bit of solo traveling this year. My next trip is in Canada in July by myself, so that'd be fun. So now I'm going to move on to my Atkins Realis journey so far. So as probably some of you know, I joined in September 2022 on the ACDP program, where I started to work in towards my project management degree, which I'm now only a year away from completing, which is kind of crazy. My first role was in operational support within ADS&T, working with Janine and the practice managers. So this gave me an understanding of how the business works and helped me build some strong internal network and develop my business acumen. I also learned how to engage with senior stakeholders quite confidently. I would always knew I wanted to be a project manager, so I've tried to kind of find roles to build my skill set and my experience within that. So the first role I took on was project manager for the CCSF, which was in the phase 5. So this focused on the core consulting skills wheel, delivering lunch and learn sessions across the business. Me and another grad led a team of 6 early career professionals, and I developed my ability to motivate, delegate, manage workloads. Also learned to start using key project management processes like Kanban planning to organize tasks. I also reported progress to a sponsorship board, which improved my confidence again interacting with seniors, and I learned how to manage risk and issues and improve upon the previous phase. So this really started to develop my project management skills and how to become a better consultant. One of my biggest highlights last year, I took part in the APM challenge where I was the project manager. This was an 8-month long project, and it was the first time I really was responsible from delivering from start to finish and working with an external client, a charity that no one had interacted in the business with before. As project manager, I was responsible for writing the project plan and final project report, managing the budget, and keeping the team motivated. I feel this is quite a big achievement because not many apprentices kind of get that opportunity so early on in their career. I ended up organising a magic night and we raised over £1,800 for the charity. We also refurbished their cafe and courtyard, and then went on to win the best storyboard competition at finals night, which I was really proud of. Um, and recently, I've also wanted to get some experience working in the practice and on more strategic work. So over the past year, I've been working with Sarah Halstead in the TDC Growth team, which was a great opportunity to improve my technical skills. So I got really into Power BI. I actually redeveloped a confidential data model where I made Sankey diagrams to represent different complex relationships and projects. And I think that's now a service that the team offered to different clients, which is quite interesting. And I also worked on some project profiling and the communications campaign. And then onto my most recent client role, I started working in the Pacifica account last year within the SG market. My first role was business change and analysis, and one of my biggest achievements for this was I created a series of training videos. We have some manual user guides, but they were quite lengthy and people quite like to learn visually, so I thought I would take it upon myself to create some videos to go alongside those. So I recorded myself using the product and then voiced this over and then produced a series of professional training program with the digital team on site. So this really strengthened my communication skills and business analysis and change skills. Since then, I've transitioned into my current role as a deployment manager. I oversee product deployments and decommission requests on a global scale. So I coordinate logistics within multiple teams and stakeholders, which again requires quite strong project management and leadership skills to bring together different moving parts. Um, I've also just started working in the Indus account as well. I'm now a project manager across an overseas portfolio. I've literally only started that last week, so I don't know too much about the role yet, but I'm really excited. I think it will give me some experience working on multiple different agile projects and really improving my PM experience again. And alongside this, I've also completed the core consultant skills course and passed my APM PMQ. So the next few slides kind of analyze my personal brand and how my personality shapes me as a professional. I've used a combination of tools to kind of get a better understanding of how I work and interact with others. So according to my Colour Insights profile, I align most strongly with the reforming director type, which is quite a focused and results-driven personality. And on the results that apparently only 3% of people have, and it shows I'm 94% red, which means I like to drive and lead progress. And I also have 47% blue and 46% yellow. And this aligns well with my Myers-Briggs ISTJ personality type, which stands for introverted, sensing, thinking, and judging, which means I tend, again, be logical, detail orientated, and highly dependable. And I preferred kind of working to clear processing and structured decision making. So moving on to the Johari's window, I've kind of gained a deeper insight into my professional personality. I asked a number of colleagues to choose words they feel best describe me, and I then did this for myself. So in the open area, I've highlighted the key traits that I'm aware of and others see me as being. So these are ambitious, driven, organised, proactive, which are all essential for being a project manager. In the blind area, there are qualities others recognize in me, but I'm not so conscious of, such as being confident, influential, strategic. I think that probably is because sometimes I question myself and don't believe in myself as others probably do. In the hidden area, I've highlighted traits like being introverted, independent, and sometimes self-conscious, which again alludes to kind of questioning my abilities sometimes and not being as confident as I should be. And in the unknown area, traits like being adaptable, flexible, and more reflective are areas I probably could develop on. And I'm now going to go through that in my SWOT analysis of my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, starting with my strengths, I say I'm naturally quite decisive and assertive. I like getting things done effectively. And once I've committed to something, I stay focused and follow it through. I'm definitely quite results driven and tend to thrive in fast paced environments. And people usually see me as quite ambitious, capable, and someone they can rely to do a good job. I also really like structure and staying organized and always looking for ways to improve. However, this can sometimes come with some weaknesses. So sometimes, because I hold myself to quite high standards, I can get impatient with myself and sometimes with others as well. Also, push for excellence, which can make me slightly intense at times. And I've realized I sometimes prioritize outcomes over work in relationships. Another area I'm kind of working on is perfectionism. I can be quite overly critical of myself and find it hard to accept things that are just good enough. It's something I'm definitely learning to manage, particularly so I can protect my own well-being and avoiding burnout. Delegation is something else that is another challenge for me. During the APM challenge, which I mentioned, I actually did 90% of the work myself, and which wasn't ideal. And I sometimes prefer to work independently and can be slightly a bit resistant to change. So from this, I now need to start trusting others more, delegating tasks to help me become a better leader and a project manager. And I also want to develop my emotional intelligence to be able to learn how to work with all different types of personalities and collaborate in a better way. I'm also aware perfectionism and assertiveness can sometimes cause conflict, so I try and be a bit more mindful of how I come across and dialing this down. So now I've kind of listed some next steps for me. And as per the message to pause all internal work, I'm still trying to get some experience with WIM work and the commercial aspects of project management. So I'm currently working with my client manager, Chris Gordon, to start going through the bid repository and identifying case studies and best practices and kind of putting a pack together to use in all future bids for the confidential client. I also hope to organise an open evening for ADS&T Early Careers Recruitment in November. We had it all planned and ready to go last year, but it was cancelled. So hopefully we can fulfil that this year. And at the end of the year, I'm going through my university gateway where I will submit my portfolio, which I've now nearly completed, and deliver a 5 month long project, which will be internal. And I haven't quite decided what that will be yet. So any ideas or help with that would be great. And I plan to stay in the SG market until I graduate next September, but then thinking I might like a change, so support with some options after that could be useful. So now I've kind of finalised this presentation with some actions split up into short, medium, and long-term goals to achieve. So over the next few months, one of my key goals is to try and get involved in WIM work and commercial activities, hopefully also within the PD practice as long as with the confidential client. I also think some training like the manager to lead a course will help support my growth in leadership and project management roles, which will be really useful since entering a new client space and working on my emotional intelligence, which I already mentioned. And then medium, once my apprenticeship has finished, I plan to apply for chartership and also look for opportunities to work abroad. So comment is something I've always been really interested in if I was given the option to do so. And then long term, over the next few years, I'm aiming to work my way towards more senior project management roles to challenge myself with larger, more complex projects. And in the future, I also aspire to become a line manager as well. And I think this could be supported through the Advanced Core Consultant Skills course once I've reached that level to prepare me for more senior roles and help address any of my weaknesses. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening. Hope it was useful and you got a bit of an insight into me.
Thank you, Millie. That was a really, really great presentation, and I think it's so interesting. When I first became your line manager, Luke was like, "It's scary how similar you are to Millie," and I feel like so much of that resonates so hard with me, which is a little bit scary. So it's basically presented on myself. So I'm going to make sure that I hand over to other people because I get a chance to talk to you all the time. I've got loads of questions, but I'm going to let the others take the floor first, and I'll come in at the end if we need to. If not, I'll pick up with you separately. So, Will.
Thank you. I'm getting in early because I know I'm going to have to dive away. I suspect this conversation may go a bit longer. Look, Millie, thank you for that. Look, that was really, really protein rich. I'll reiterate what Jess said. The safety moment at the beginning was very powerful, and they always are when they're rooted in personal experience. So thank you for your candor in that regard, because often someone will say something which has no personal effect on them whatsoever, and it doesn't have quite the impact that something you've been through does. So thank you for that. I had a load of questions as we went along, but as we were going through the presentation, you were answering them, which was great, but also really irritating because I do like to try and trip people up. What I will say is it's just a comment really. This is perhaps one of the most self-aware presentations I've ever seen. Your colour insights profile is illuminating. That is a rarity to have that balance. What I will say is, when you went through the SWOT, and this is not a criticism. I recognise this entirely. You've got so many strengths, yet you seem to personally focus on the weaknesses. That's the impression I got. And going back to the sport element, this is a team game, right? So focus on your strengths and what you bring to the party, because no one is the perfect all-rounded personality. It is about how we put teams together where we can really, really amplify people's strengths. And you have so many in that kind of, definitely a future leader. Definitely a future leader. You've got all the characteristics. The skill for us and yourself is to recognize where there are those gaps and how we put a team together, which brings that green energy to what you've got to offer. But we can have a chat at a different date, because so many of the things you perceive as weaknesses, I have been through the same thing myself, and I've got over them, sometimes by accident, sometimes by a deliberate act. So we'll have another chat at another time, and we can go through some ways you can address those, but focus on the strengths, because there are so many of them.
I just wanted to have a balance for you, but that's interesting. Thank you. Are you red as well by any chance?
Actually, I'm quite the opposite.
Oh, are you?
If you took your red and my green, they're polar opposites.
Okay.
But the green and the blue are similar.
Cool.
But the fact is with these things, it's not that you can't do it. It just takes more energy to be that person.
Yeah, definitely. I think at home I'm slightly different, but at work I always try and get to the root cause before kind of thinking about anything else. So yeah, I definitely will focus on the strengths, but it's good to know what I can improve on to always make myself better. So yeah, thank you.
Always don't beat yourself up though. And as for aspirations, they all sort of chime with where I sort of want to take the practice. So thank you.
Cool. I think Finola, did you have your hand up and then did you take it down, or?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't want to usurp you, Karen, but I'll jump in. So yeah, I guess the main thing I was thinking of is I feel like you need to take a bow, just look at what you've done. It's absolutely fantastic, and I concur with Will. I think my main takeaway is I think this actually might be one of, if not the best early careers milestone presentation that I've been to. It was a mix of personal and professional, but I think people always worry about how to talk about themselves without bragging, and you did that perfectly, and I'm just, yeah, sort of in awe of what we've just seen, to be honest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks as well for talking about your serious anorexia. I know that's been covered as well, but it was a really powerful moment. I think everyone can agree. So my questions, I have 3 questions, but I'll ask one. So the area that you're moving into now, Indus, which is where I am,
Yeah.
it's going to be great to have you aboard. It's very complicated and sort of requires full attention when we're with the client, which as every other client really does, but this one in particular, in my experience, has really sucked me in. And I wonder how you're feeling about keeping in touch with the apprentice program and PD and everyone, and have you thought about a plan of how to balance that?
Yeah, I think it always can be a bit of a challenge because it is all high side. So 3 days a week I am kind of on that IT and don't really have access to anything else. But I know the Fridays I will try and be in the office and kind of also network with my other colleagues. And when all the internal work kind of picks up again, I want to get a bit more involved in PD and the sort of internal things I can pick up to kind of show myself, because I feel like, especially doing the role that we do and the work that we do, not many people really know exactly what roles we have or have the kind of visibility that others might get being kind of been able to work on anxiety every day. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that, and any help with trying to get something more internal within PD to kind of show off other things that I can get involved in, that would be really useful.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good plan, and we can work together to make sure that the boundaries are set sort of with the client space, and that allow you to have that visibility still without sort of burning out and doing things in the evenings.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're interested in the commercial side of things. So
Mhm.
the plan as it stands is for me to become the client manager in June, and I'll be looking for support with a lot of the commercial aspects of things. So we can look for opportunities there. Be
Yeah, that
great
would be
to
really
have
useful.
your help.
Cool. I'll make a note of that and chat to you then. But congratulations on getting that role, by the way.
Thank you. As I said that, I was like, why am I talking about me? But yes, ultimately, it's about you.
Cool, thank you. Karen, you have your
So
hand up.
that was from the humble champion. Everyone else.
Oops.
Picking up a bit from Finola and then a bit from Will as well. When we last spoke, there was a bit about how you've just kind of gained new roles and you don't seem to have dropped any of the old roles necessarily. So there's a certain amount of trying to find backfill and just clarify that actually you can leave roles. I'm sure that your client will be not thrilled about that, but we do need to probably support to make space for you to go on to the next challenge rather than necessarily keep holding on to the old one. So I know I harassed Luke a bit about that, but we'll nudge Finola as well on the kind of moving forward. But I know that you have enjoyed the learning, haven't you, and the challenge on each role that you've been taking in.
Yeah, to begin with, I was slightly disappointed because I wanted the PM role to start with, but I was put in with business change and analysis. But actually, it was been quite useful to kind of learn different aspects, because as a PM, you need to have experience with all the different sort of roles and what they do. So it was very good, and the new kind of thing doing the deployment management has been interesting. Chris did actually email me before we went on leave to say that he thinks there's a backfill on the horizon very soon, so that's positive, and we have a call next week to chat through that, so I shouldn't be doing it for too much longer.
Excellent, because we do want to protect your skills for the going forward and not always making sure that we're holding on to the stuff that's behind. But the other thing I'll flag is like self-awareness is the one big word that I wrote down here. And I think everything, as long as you are aware of how you are behaving, how you interact with people and all the rest of it, then all the development comes naturally. So that has been the most powerful thing for me to see in your presentation. is that really clear view. I mean, obviously you're not shining in the view the way we see you shining, right? Because you see the things you can improve. But it's great to see that, because just remember that just because you need to improve something doesn't mean you're good at it. You're not good at it. It's just something to improve. And sometimes taking that language to people that's like, these are the things I care about, so I'm getting better at them, rather than these are my weaknesses, because actually you do have strengths across so many of those areas that we can see looking in. But that self-awareness to do better and be better will take you so far. It's a really lovely thing to see.
Cool, thank you. And thanks for your support as a mentor as well. Karen has been great and helped me with lots of different stuff from the start. So
all I can do is try and get you to protect yourself and trust yourself more, to be fair. All the rest you carry off very well on your own.
Thank you. Jess?
Thanks, Millie. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to this. I absolutely love coming to sessions like this because, one, it's great to understand you a bit more and understand kind of where you want to see yourself, but also how I can support you going forward. So let's do this as a start of a conversation, but certainly put time in and we can go through maybe your slides in a bit more detail and I can ask some of the questions because I'm conscious of time. I think I saw a Doberman on your slide. So I think we can also have Doberman stories because everyone on this call knows that I've got a big Doberman sitting behind me. I think it was a really strong presentation. I think to reiterate what everybody said, I think it was very much you. I think you spoke through your strengths. You're very self-aware, which is fantastic. I think there's probably some questions that I'd like to ask you offline with regards to your red energy and how you can kind of dial that down in certain scenarios. And also that strive for perfection. So sometimes that can be quite hard to always strive to be the best and want to be the best. And sometimes when we find ourselves in scenarios when we've got that strive for perfection, when we don't quite land it, what that means and how you cope with that and how we ensure going forward you've got that resilience and you're protected, because it can be quite difficult, I think, at times when you don't quite hit that 100%. So yeah, as I said, there's a minute left and I know, Will, you need to drop off, so let's put another conversation in offline and we can maybe talk through that in a bit more detail. But well done, a great presentation.
Thank you. That'd be useful. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And just add to what Jess said, about the red energy and mitigating it to a certain extent, but the flip side of that is sometimes, and I'm dealing with a few situations right now, we need someone with ultra red energy to just go and drive stuff forward. So don't see that as a work on, just see it as a control measure.
Definitely. Thank you.
Anyway, I've got to go. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
Millie,
for
I
coming.
look forward to meeting you again. Thanks
Yeah,
all.
definitely. Likewise.
Thanks so much, Millie. Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, I think that was absolutely wonderful. We can definitely pick some things up as well offline, especially those things around how to deal with things like outside of your control and being someone who's very likes to have things under control, because I can definitely resonate with that. So we can work through a few things on that as well. Anything else from you, Mill, before we
I don't think so.
Definitely
Just thanks
encourage
everyone for
those
coming.
conversations to continue. I think there's loads in there to unpack. But really good start. Go on, Karen.
I know you sort of very quickly went over, is there anything that you need from us in your presentation? Just as a flag here, we've got the commercial things, we've got some other chats with Jess. Are there other things that you would like us to be holding you in mind for or taking forward for you?
I think the only thing that I have a question mark against right now is I have that project I need to do at the end of next year. At the end of this year, the 4-month-long project for my uni, and it needs to be internal. So some help with that, if anything comes up that I could do for my work-based project, that would be useful, because I'm honestly have no idea what I'm going to do that on yet. So that's the only kind of thing really on my mind.
So Millie, just on that, after this, could you just send us specifically what you're looking for, what it needs to be, what it doesn't need to be? I'm currently leading on some brand and culture work within program delivery, so there may be a slant of that you can get involved in. But I think if you can be specific what you're looking for, then we might be able to go away, clank our heads together and get back to you with something.
Yeah, cool. I'll do that. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Millie.
That's all right. Thank
you
you.
can go chill out for the rest of the day now. Get it done.
I was a little bit nervous, to be fair, but I'm glad it's done.